What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my Draftkings MMA picks for UFC Vegas 31. We have Islam Makhachev going against Thiago Moises. Looks to be a very good card. We have a ton of favorites on this card, so it's going to be very interesting, especially from a Draftkings perspective, because there are a ton of great plays, especially up in this top range. It's going to be really hard to find a couple dogs, but we'll talk about some dogs that are live and much more. Before we get into it, if you guys can leave a like on the video, it does go a long way. Also, subscribe if you have not yet so you do not miss out on the other content throughout the week. I already posted my full card breakdown and prediction video, and I'm going live on Friday, as always, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and Saturday, 1 hour prior to when the prelims start as well. I do want to shout out the winner to the DraftKings contest for last week. Shout out to Retro107. Retro, if you can comment down your PayPal or Cashapp, I will get you your winnings. Shout out to you. Well done. I will be doing more contests in the very near future, so something to look out to there. All right, so let's get started, and we'll start, as always, with the fight doesn't go to decision lines. And honestly, I think all four of these fights have a very good chance of finishing. I really don't see any of them going to decision, and they are four fights that I am going to be having my exposure on for sure. Starting with Nascimento going against Alan Baudot, and this is the first fight of the night, as long as they don't switch up the bout order on me. But, typically, if you guys know me, you guys know I do like targeting that first fight of the night. Last week, it was supposed to be Zhang Hu against Alan Amedovski. That fight fell off. So that sucked. I was really high on that fight, but I'm pretty high on this fight as well. I think this fight has a good potential of scoring, based off the fact that neither guy has ever seen the scorecards. Alan Baudot, 100% finish rate, both of his losses by knockout. Technically, he did have a submission loss as well that turned into a disqualification win for him. I think his opponent popped for something, but regardless, he has been finished in all his losses. And then as far as Nascimento, 100% finish rate himself, 75% of his wins coming by submission, very good on the mat, and his one loss was by knockout. So, typically when both guys have 100% finish rates, typically when both guys have never seen the scorecards, is a fight I'm going to be wanting to target. And Nascimento, 9K, I like him quite a bit. We'll talk more about that. As far as Alan Baudot, at the end of the day, this is a heavyweight fight, and although I think Nascimento is much more skilled than this guy, sometimes it just really doesn't matter. Alan Baudot does have some power. He could get a knockout. So this is a fight where, although I do like Nascimento quite a bit, I will have a couple shares of Alan Baudot as well. Next, we have Daniel Rodriguez going against Preston Parsons. I think this fight has a potential to score a lot. D-Rod, 8,800. Preston Parsons, 7,400. Minus 280. Fight doesn't go to decision. So the thing with Preston Parsons is, again, this is another guy that has never seen the scorecard. So it's another fight that I really want to target. 100% finish rate for Parsons. And get this, a 100% finish rate by submission. He's never won by decision. He's never won by knockout. He has only won by submission, which gives me serious pause in this fight against Daniel Rodriguez because D-Rod, he is a legit 10th Planet BJJ purple belt or brown belt, but a legit grappler nonetheless. 16 fights, he's never been submitted, so it's just a really tough test to ask for Parsons to come in here on short notice against somebody as well-rounded as D-Rod and, potentially pulling off an upset. So, yeah, I like D-Rod quite a bit. I think there's going to be a serious pace. Both guys put on a serious pace here, and I think it scores very, very well. I'm going to say D-Rod gets the knockout or submission. Parsons has been submitted before. Parsons has been knocked out as well. And this is one of those cases where I think Parsons is very good. I just think D-Rod is better pretty much everywhere. But, man, Parsons is he's a beast. He's young. He's 25 years old. I think he has a lot of upside. But, coming in on short notice against a guy and Daniel Rodriguez is just a really tough test to ask. So I'll get D-Rod here, 8,800. I do like him quite a bit. As far as Parsons, if you want to take a shot or two, I don't hate it. The guy's not bad. Next, we have Rodolfo Vieira going against Dustin Stoltzfus. Rivera, he is 8,700. Stoltzfus, 7,500. And, yeah, Vieira, he is going to be able to, either go in there and get that early finish, or he's probably going to gas out. I mean, the guy has no gas tank. He's huge. I think he's extremely skilled, really good wrestling, top-notch BJJ. The striking's not there, but he doesn't really need it. But the problem is that gas tank. So I think both guys are definitely in play here. Vieira, if he wins, it's going to score a ton. I love the price tag of Vieira at 8,700. If Stoltzfus wins, he probably gets beat in that first round, but he could probably start taking over after that first round there. So I think both sides are in play here. I think this fight finishes one way or another, whether it is Vieira early or whether it is Stoltzfus late. Next, we have Francisco Figueiredo going against Malcolm Gordon, another fight that I want to target here. Minus 165, fight doesn't go to decision. I do want to go to the finish stats for this fight. So 83% finish rate for both Figueiredo and Gordon. Gordon 33% by knockout, 50% by submission for a total of 83%. Francisco Figueiredo 25% by knockout, 58% by submission for a total of 83%. Figueiredo has been finished in 2 losses, 2 of his 3 losses, 1 by knockout, 1 by submission. Malcolm Gordon has been finished in all of his losses, all 5 losses, 4 coming by knockout. And we'll definitely talk more about it, but yeah, I like this fight as a whole. I think it's a good fight to target. Figueiredo is very live for a knockout. Malcolm Gordon has a horrible, horrible chin. But on the flip side, Francisco Figueiredo, he's not that impressive to me. Terrible gas tank, low volume. I think Malcolm Gordon's very live if he does not get knocked out. And I know it's a big if because Malcolm Gordon has no chin. But yeah, if he does not get knocked out, I think Malcolm Gordon definitely has the tools to win. So a fight as a whole that I'm really high on here, and I do think it scores pretty well. So getting into our core plays, Islam Makhachev, 9,400. I think he scores a ton here. He has 5 rounds to work with going against Thiago Moises, and I think he gets multiple takedowns. We've seen Moises taken down. We've seen him controlled. But Neil Dariush, in his fight against Moises, Dariush was able to get like 13 and a half minutes of control time in a 15-minute fight. I kind of see the same exact thing happening here. I think Makhachev puts up a ginormous score here. So I like Makhachev. I'm going to have him in the majority of my lineups. And this 9K range is really stacked, but it's really hard to not go very heavy on Makhachev in this fight. I think he scores very good outside of him, not going to the wrestling because maybe he's, has too much respect for the BJJ of Moises, which would really surprise me. But I do think he gets takedowns. I do think he gets control time. And I do think he gets a lot of it and a possible finish late in the fight. So give me Makhachev all over him here. He's going to be probably my highest exposed fighter on the entire slate. Next, we have Rodolfo Vieira, 8,700, going right back to it. He burned a lot of people, including me last time against Fluffy Hernandez. You should not be getting submitted by Fluffy Hernandez, especially if your nickname is the Black Belt Hunter. But, taking a look at the tape of Stoltzfus, the guy has no takedown defense. Stoltzfus is very comfortable to be on his back. He does throw up submissions. He's very active, but that's not going to work against Vieira, at least early. And I like Vieira to get an early finish here. The problem is if he does not get an early finish, he's going to be in big, big trouble. But I'm going to take the upside of that first round, potentially early second round as well of Rodolfo Vieira, 8,700. If he wins, it's going to score really, really well. So I do like Vieira quite a bit. Of course, I will have somebody on the other side of Stoltzfus just in case Vieira does not get that submission and he does gas out, which, hey, it could happen. But it's really hard to ignore the upside of Rodolfo Vieira in this fight at 8,700 especially. All right, next we have Rogerio Nascimento, 9,000. I think he gets a first-round finish here against Alan Badeau. Nascimento, I believe he's a purple belt or brown belt in BJJ, but regardless, the guy is a legit grappler, especially for heavyweight standards. He gets on top of guys. He's able to, pass very well, very easily. Really good submissions, really good ground and pound as well. And Alan Badeau can be taken down. He can get submitted. We've seen him get submitted in one of his fights that, like I said earlier, got turned into a disqualification win for him for some reason. But, we saw it happen. We saw him get his back taken. We saw him get submitted. We saw him get taken down multiple times. Nascimento, he's a young guy. He's a young guy, especially for heavyweight standards. I believe he's 27 or 28 years old. Yeah, 28 years old is Nascimento. And this is a fight, like I said, both guys have never seen the scorecards win or loss. I think this fight does finish. And I think if Nascimento gets him down at least once or just one time, I think the fight's going to be over shortly after. I don't think Badeau has a great ground game at all. So give me Nascimento. I like the guy training at a good camp, an American Top Team. I think they're going to have a good game plan of getting this fight down to the mat. And if it does hit the mat once, I think the fight does end shortly after. So I think Nascimento does have takedown upside, control time upside, and a first-round submission upside as well. All right, next we have Sergey Morozov. Interesting play here. We have a ton of big favorites. There aren't many dogs, but Morozov is a dog that definitely stuck out to me. I think is a dog that has, takedown upside. In his UFC debut, he couldn't really do anything because they fed him to the wolves against Umar Nurmagomedov. But now he gets Khalid Taha, and in this fight, I do think he goes for takedowns here. I think the striking is going to be competitive, but Taha has a 61% takedown defense. Taha has been taken down 10 times in 4 fights. And Taha is 1-3 in the UFC. Technically, he did, submit Bruno Silva in that third round, but it did turn into a no contest because he did pop for performing-enhancing drugs. But yeah, Nana Armani was able to take him down 6 times in that fight. He controlled him for 10 minutes. Hani Barcelos was able to take him down 2 times. He controlled him for 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Bruno Silva took him down 2 times, was able to control him for 7 minutes. And I think Morozov, has the wrestling chops to take him down, control him, and maybe grind out a decision here. Like I said, the striking is going to be competitive. It's going to be close. Taha is very, very dangerous, as is Morozov. Both guys are dangerous, but as long as Morozov does not get knocked out, he mixes in the takedowns, I think he can win. And on a card where there's not many dogs, I do like the shot on Morozov here at 7,900. All right. Next, we have our GPP plays here, our tournament plays. Daniel Rodriguez, 8,800. I really like this guy. This guy is somebody that has a ton of volume. Outside of his last fight against Nicholas Dalby, which, by the way, I did think he won that fight. But, D-Rod's very dangerous. He's a finisher. He can get it done by knockout. He can get it done by submission. 79% finish rate. Preston Parsons, his opponent, has never seen the scorecards, win or loss. Just with the pace these guys are going to put on, I'd be shocked if this fight did not finish. D-Rod's going to be the fighter that is more prepared. Preston Parsons is coming in on short notice, so maybe Parsons does slow down as the fight goes on. But yeah, I think with the pace both guys put on, I think D-Rod's going to eventually, find a knockout, maybe a submission. I've seen Parsons submitted. I've seen Parsons taken down easily as well. And if Parsons does engage in the grappling, I think D-Rod's, more than capable of finding a sub himself, getting a reversal, getting on top. But at range, I do favor D-Rod here quite a bit. I think he's very live for a KO. So give me D-Rod. 8,800. I like it. I think it scores well as a whole, but I am picking him to win as well. Mateus Gamrot, 8,600. Interesting fight here. Gamrot has scored pretty well thus far in the UFC. He does have a finish, and he does have a decision loss against Guram Kudulaladze in a fight that I really thought he won. I think the guy should be undefeated still. Went back and watched that fight. I did score the first round for Gamrot. In the third round, second round went to Guram, but still, even in that loss, he scored decent, had a ton of takedowns, and he's somebody that can wrestle, he can mix it up, high volume. He's going to have more volume in this fight against Jeremy Stephens. And one problem I have is, Stephens is very dangerous. 18 knockdowns in the UFC, which is absolutely unheard of. But, Gamrot did get hurt in the Guram Kudulaladze fight. But outside of a Jeremy Stephens knockout, I do think Gamrot does score pretty well here. Like I mentioned, against Guram, he had 5 takedowns. Against Scott Holtzman, he had 2 takedowns and a knockout. And I don't think he finishes Stephens, nothing like that, but I do think he can mix in the takedowns, get some control time, and rack up a ton of volume as well. So I do like Gamrot, especially at his price tag. 8,600 against a Jeremy Stephens who is probably on his way out. A Jeremy Stephens who is 35, 36 years old, coming up a weight class late in his career. I do like Gamrot to get it done and score decently. Next we have Francisco Figueiredo, 8,900. This is just a fade on the Malcolm Gordon chin for me. Malcolm Gordon, I went back and watched his fights. I watched a good 7 or 8 fights, and I kid you not, Malcolm Gordon got hurt in every single fight I watched. There was not one fight where he did not get hurt. Even in the fights he was winning, the guy gets hurt. He just has such horrible reactions to shots. The guy has, pound for pound, probably the worst chin I've ever seen. So although I'm not high on Francisco Figueiredo, I don't think he's that great. Probably only takes one good shot to put out Malcolm Gordon. Malcolm Gordon is as chinny as can be. So it's hard to ignore Francisco Figueiredo. I think he has finishing upside. 83% by 83% finish rate overall, 58% by submission. We have seen Malcolm Gordon submitted. We've seen him knocked out. I think Francisco Figueiredo is a great tournament play. Wouldn't really go there in cash because the guy's so low volume. I don't think he's great. Honestly, I think Gordon's very live, but if he does win, it is probably by knockout. So give me Francisco Figueiredo as a nice tournament option there. And then Miesha Tate, 8,200. So fun fact, Mary Renault has been taken down at least once in her last 10 fights. And Miesha Tate, what is she going to do? She's going to want to get this fight down to the mat. Mary Renault, a 50% takedown defense. The only problem is Miesha Tate has not fought in 5.5 years. That's the big red flag here. But if she shows up anything like, the old Miesha Tate, I think there's a very good chance that she not only wins this fight, but scores pretty decently. She has good wrestling, good grappling as well. And like I mentioned, Mary Renault, 44 years old, retirement fight, no takedown defense. I think, she has a really good opportunity to win this fight and score decent. So 8,200 is not terrible. I'll take some Miesha Tate, but man, it's a weird fight because she has not fought in so long. So if she comes back and she does not, look the same, yeah, Mary Renault can very well win. But if she shows up and she looks anything like she did, 5-6 years ago, I think she'll have a lot of success here, but it's just a tough fight to call. So give me Miesha Tate as a nice tournament play there. Don't know if I go there in cash. Live dogs, Billy Quarantillo. Yeah, Billy Quarantillo, no matter who he's fighting, he's always a live dog. I mean, this guy has a ton of toughness. He has some of the best cardio you ever see and some of the best output you ever see. The only problem for me is going to be his 42% striking defense. He is very hittable. And I don't know if you want to be hittable against a guy like Gabriel Benitez, but something I do want to mention is Benitez missed weight bad in his last fight against Jonathan Pierce, a fight that ultimately got canceled because he missed weight by so much, and Pierce did not want to accept the fight. And we got to look out for Benitez on the scales, because if he does, make weight, or if he does miss weight and look bad, it's something to really monitor, because the pace that Billy Quarantillo puts on is insane. He averages 7.04 significant strikes per minute. That's it's crazy. So he could put on a pace on Benitez, win or loss. If this does go the distance, I think Billy does score very well. He can mix in takedowns as well. Benitez has been taken down multiple times. He has a poor takedown defense of 56%. So yeah, I see upside for Billy Quarantillo. I think honestly he'll be one of the more popular dogs on the slate, because people like this guy. I like this guy. I like his style. I think if he does win this fight, I do think he's going to score a ton. So Billy Quarantillo, although I'm not picking him to win because of how hittable he is, if Benitez does slow down, I think Billy's going to have a lot of success, because Billy does not slow down. So yeah, Billy Quarantillo, I don't hate it. 7,700 as a live dog here. Jeremy Stephens, 7,600. This is a play of, Gamrot, he's never been knocked out. We have seen him drop before. Stephens, he's fought the better competition by a mile, but he is getting up there in age. He has a ton of power, and if he does win, it is probably by knockout. But so kind of a flyer on Jeremy Stephens here, just in case he does win by knockout. Like I mentioned earlier, 18 knockdowns for Jeremy Stephens. He's dangerous. He's a finisher. So if he can't catch the chin of Gamrot, he will score well. 64% knockout rate for Jeremy Stephens in 46 fights. So ton of knockouts on his record. Coming up a weight class does concern me. Will the power translate? Will it not translate? But yeah, I'll take some shots on Stephens just in case he does find that chin. But not really too excited about this play. Anderson Dos Santos, 7,800, a guy that is very, very dangerous going against Miles Johns. Yeah, kind of an interesting fight. I do think this fight as a whole can score decent. Didn't really talk about Miles Johns. I think he's a fine play if he does get takedowns. But, going for takedowns against Anderson Dos Santos is a very dangerous game. Dos Santos, 81% finish rate, 57% by submission. The guy is very dangerous anywhere the fight goes. So, yeah, if he does win, it's going to be by finish. I don't see him winning decision. I don't, he can win by knockout. Miles Johns has been knocked out before. He can win by submission. Miles Johns has never been submitted, but there could be a first for everything. And Anderson Dos Santos, like I mentioned, 57% submission rate. I like Miles Johns to win, but as far as like a dog pick with some upside, Anderson Dos Santos is probably a decent look, because if he does win, it will be by finish. If he does win, it'll score very, very well. But it's hard to trust him. He's 35 years old, about to be 36. Getting up there in age for sure, especially for a bantamweight. So don't hate it as like a little bit of a flyer. If he does win, it's probably scoring well, but not much confidence in it. And as you could tell, there's not many great dogs on this slate at all. A ton of big favorites. So we got to really kind of pick our spots and find that one or two dogs that really have a shot. And like I said, if Dos Santos wins, it's probably by finish, probably scores well. If Stephens wins, it's probably by finish, it probably scores well. But just, stuff I'm not really all that confident, but we have to find something here. Next, we have Dustin Stoltzfus, 7,500 going against Rodolfo Vieira. Again, if he wins, it probably scores well, but he's going to need to survive that first round. Rodolfo Vieira has one of the worst gas tanks, if not the worst gas tank I've ever seen in my life. Went back and watched that Vieira fight versus Felipe Hernandez, and the announcers were like, they've never, ever in their life seen somebody gas out so bad. So, although, Stoltzfus has no takedown defense, although Stoltzfus is way too comfortable to be on his back, if he can survive for a round, I think is very live here. I think Stoltzfus will be somewhat popular because of what Fluffy Hernandez did in the last fight, but I personally think Vieira gets him out in the first round, but I also acknowledge that if he does not get him out of there in that first round, Vieira probably loses, and Stoltzfus probably gets like a second or third round finish. So definitely a fight as a whole I do want to target, and we'll be playing some Stoltzfus at 7,500. All right, next we have Malcolm Gordon, 7,300. I think he's going to be very low owned. I think everybody's going to be on Figueiredo this week, and rightfully so. Malcolm Gordon has not looked good in the UFC, but look at who he's facing. Sumidarji knocked him out, and he got submitted by Amir Albazi. Two guys that would absolutely destroy Francisco Figueiredo. You go back and watch tape on Gordon prior to coming in the UFC, and he's good. He's solid. He's a BJJ black belt. He's very slick off his back, very active off his back, high volume. I think he has all the tools to win this fight. I really do. The problem is one thing, and it's that chin. Like I said, Malcolm Gordon, pound for pound, has probably the worst chin in the UFC. Worse chin than like a Jason Witt, who originally I thought it was Jason Witt, but going back, Malcolm Gordon, he's been hurt so many times. Can't count how many times I've seen this guy hurt. You go back and watch his fights, and it's every single fight. He is getting dropped. He's getting rocked. He's wobbling. The chin is just horrible. So Francisco Figueiredo, although he's low volume, he has no cardio. He has some power. And that's probably all you need to beat Malcolm Gordon. But if Malcolm Gordon does not get knocked out, I think there's a serious chance he does win this fight. He's more active. If he does get taken down, he'll be more active off his back. He's very dangerous off his back. On the feet, he's going to be more active. He's going to be throwing more. It's just the chin. Here. So I will take some shots on Malcolm Gordon, but there's a very good chance he does get knocked out. All right, guys, no fades for me this week. If anything, I'm not going to have much Moises, to be honest. I'm not going to have much Montserrat Ruiz. But yeah, I think pretty much everybody on the slate is in play. I'm not going to have much Marion Renault probably, but yeah, not really any fighter that I'd say I'm going to outright fade. I think a lot of these fighters are in play. I think a lot of these fights are in play as a whole. So no really fade of the week for me that really stuck out, which usually there's like one or two, but nothing stuck out this week. But do want to remind you guys, it's always a great time to become a member of the Patreon. If you are looking for more content, you get full access to my model, the stat model. I'm also with the advanced stats, courtesy of Uncle Weezy. He also does the matchup template as well, something that I love. It's a huge game changer there. You get the premium projections that are already out. The lineup optimizer, people really seem to like it. Adds a ton of value to the package. GPP lineup percentages, my Draftkings article, and also access to Discord. All that for only $10 a month. I really do appreciate anybody that signs up. It really does help me. There are some things that I'm working on in the near future, and all of the support that you guys do bring, it goes right to what I'm working on, and it's going to be huge. I'm going to announce it soon, and I can't wait for it, but it's all thanks to you guys for sure. So we're 300 members there. Feel free to sign up. The link is in the description. Great community over there of guys and some girls as well. So shout out to all of you that are on the Patreon, and shout out to you that are all watching as well. Always do appreciate your support week in and week out. If you guys want to check out my DraftKings show on Pub Sports Radio, go ahead. It is every Tuesday, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on Pub Sports Radio. Talk about a lot of DraftKings, talk some betting as well, so check that out. That's about it, guys. If you guys can leave a like on your way out, it'd be much, much appreciated. Also, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. Again, appreciate it a ton. And good luck for UFC Vegas 31. Let's make some money, guys.